We are 20 minutes from the edge of the world, and this river just turned blood red. This is the Encontro das Aguas, where the Mest, where the acidic Blackway 6 kilometers downstream.
12 hours earlier, Manaus Harbor processed 3,000 tons of cargo before sunrise.
Our expedition launches from the last fuel depot before the Jau National Park boundary, 900 kilometers from the nearest road. From here, every calorie and milliliter of water must be carried on our backs for the next 18 days.
The transition zone where Blackwater River meets terra firma forest creates a biodiversity corridor hosting 40,000 insect species per hectare.
The trail vanishes exactly where the GPS says the canopy density doubles, and that is where we start bushwhacking. Terra firma clay becomes adhesive at 32% humidity, adding roughly 400 grams of mud to each boot strike. Extra weight compounds over 30,000 steps, which is why every gram of kit is calculated before departure. Granite riverbed here is estimated at 1.8 billion years old, part of the Crichton and the entire western Amazon basin. First camp is a fallen ceiba root ball that creates a natural windbreak on the only dry ground within 2 kilometers.
Ceiba pentandra can live for 200 years and develop buttress roots spanning 12 meters from trunk base, creating micro-ecosystems within each fold.
Day 2, we have 11 kilometers to cover before the terrain drops into the flooded basin, and the humidity is already at 94%, indicate ancient laterite soil formation, meaning this ground has been above water level for at least 10 million years.
The leafcutter ant colony visible here processes 40,000 leaf fragments daily, cultivating a fungus garden that weighs as much as a human child.
The canopy just opened up ahead, which means we are hitting a gap caused by a recent tree fall, and that is where the undergrowth becomes impenetrable. It's like a send of the biomass within 18 months, making these zones the most nutrient-dense areas in the entire forest. We just hit the first major elevation change, a 20-meter ravine with a decomposed log bridge that has seen better decades. This log is likely a capwood with specific cartin for carrying which resists decomfordations by the fungal and
A single kapok tree in full bloom can release 200,000 seed pods.
We just crossed the watershed divide and the entire forest structure changed. The trees are shorter, the light is different, and the air tastes like minerals. These white sand forests hold endemic species found nowhere else on Earth, including 3 frog species and a hummingbird discovered only in the last decade.
Liamphora nutans, the marsh pitcher plant, traps insects in fluid-filled chambers containing digestive enzymes that dissolve prey within 72 hours.
Back under full canopy and the temperature just dropped 6 degrees, humidity is pegged at 98%, and my clothes are already heavy with moisture.
Morphocypress reflects structural blue light through nanoscale ridges on its wing scales, creating the brightest biological color produced by any insect on Earth.
This stream crossing is deeper than expected, current is fast, and the bottom is covered in algae-slicked boulders that will test every foot placement. Coattend to near ice, making these crossings statistically the most common injury point in Amazon expeditions.
Dendrobates tinctorius produces batrachotoxin from its diet of formicine ants, storing enough alkaloid in skin glands to kill 10 adult humans.
We just found petroglyphs on this boulder, geometric spirals and animal forms carved into the rock face that could be 3,000 years old on sun, suggesting Hodorfio petroglyphs across and found use of black winds readers recording for the Amadeus basins.
Envelop their host tree, creating hollow lattice structures that outlive the original trunk by decades.
A 60-meter sandstone climb that separates the lowland basin from the plateau where the lost city should sit.
The iron band seams in the sandstone were laid down in the Cretaceous period when this region was still connected to the African plate before continental drift separated them. Sandstone friction coefficient drops by 40% when the surface temperature exceeds 45 degrees, which this face is currently reading at 52. Years to go and the seams are getting narrower. Every move has to be precise because there is nothing below to catch a fall. A termite mound of this size, exceeding 2 meters in height, represents the output of a colony containing over 3 million individuals working in complete darkness for 5 years.
We made it to the plateau, and I can see for the first time there is something out there, geometric shapes in the tree line that do not look natural.
The plateau drops into a valley carved by a Blackwater tributary that has never been mapped by satellite because the
descent into the valley is through a rock chute that drops 40 meters and 60 horizontal meters, and the sandstone here is crumbly and unreliable. Sandstone rated as class 4 on the geotechnical stability scale means any handhold or foothold can shear without warning under body weight. Valley floor reached, and there it is, a Blackwater river that has literally never than clear water systems, making the water appear black while remaining completely transparent at shallow depth. Transparency is measurable to the consword swap of this bright native black appearance, although light arrayed in store.
Epiphytic bromelia tanks in the lower canopy create suspended freshwater ecosystems less piece of amphibian within a single plant.
Something is wrong with the sky. That wall of cloud was not traveling to me 2 days ago when we break into this valley. Rain is here and it is not gentle. This is a deluge and we have maybe 45 seconds to find cover before visibility drops to 0. Tropical squall lines in passageways can deposit 60 millimeters of rain in 30 minutes, transforming clay terrain into every breath tastes like succulent clay and the rain on my skin is cold. This is the Amazon turning hostile and there is nothing to do but keep moving. Post-storm clay mud at this consistency has a shear strength below support body weight without continuous forward momentum to prevent sinking. At this rate of forward progress, we are burning 800 calories per hour per piv crateribing, which is triple normal hiking spend. I can hear running water ahead, which means there is a stream crossing and zero visibility, and that is exactly where someone could step into a drop-off without warning. Nightfall in the Amazon Valley arrives. It triggers every predator species into peak hunt activity simultaneously. Peripheral vision drops to zero, which is why 90% of night trail injuries are lateral ankle rolls. Found a rock overhang that will work as shelter for the night. It is not comfortable, but it blocks wind and keeps us 12 meters from the stream for water access in all camps. And the soot stains on the ceiling suggest this exact spot was used for fire pits repeatedly. Sitting still for the first time in 14 hours and every muscle is trembling, the rock floor is cold through my shorts and the sound of that stream is almost hypnotic. The human body can sustain 18 hours of sustained physical exertion before cortisol ablation. Crossed the stream at dawn on that submerged log, 3 hours of brutal uphill mud clay, and now I am standing on a ridge looking at something that should not exist. The final approach requires descending 400 meters into a hanging valley that has not been visited by anyone from the outside world in recorded history, built above the main valley floor, and this one appears to have protected its contents from both flooding and human access for centuries. For at least 150 years, meaning whoever carved it was the last person to stand at this exact spot. There it is. I can see stone walls through the trees ahead, actual constructed walls with straight lines and right angles in the middle of the most remote forest on Earth. It's a technique to deciding to flood village, the relationship with pre-Columbian megalithic cultures found across the Andean corridor. The plaza diameter of 80 meters suggests a settlement capacity of approximately 3,000 inhabitants. And every stone block in this wall weighs between 400 and 800 kilograms, and without mortar, the only force. I am standing inside the central chamber, and there are carved pillars with the same spirals in the entire marmor out here. The carving depth consistency at 2 centimeters across 80% of pillar surface suggests the use of bronze chisel. This is the view from the highest point of the city, the entire hanging valley with its stone structures below and the unbroken forest. The valley below, which mirrors is the urban planning geometry of the Xingu archaeological complex 800 kilometers east. Standing here, fleeming lace. This is the moment that justifies every step, every mosquito bite, every flooded river crossing, every second of fear. The iron oxide staining on these blocks is identical to source stone from the same geobital layer of the bank. The full scale of the city from above, 40 structures, radial plaza inches at a single stone because the canopy is so perfect. 6 days ago, I was standing at the edge of a river that turned blood red, and I had no idea that river was the first clue pointing to exactly this place. The human brain processes profound discovery through a 6-stage in quiet. I can feel my heartbeat in my fingertips, and the stone is warm as line from 6 hours of sun and snowing and me. The descent from the hanging valley requires retracing 400 units of elevation through lattice in the entry. Post-storm slope stability decreases by 60% within the first 24 hours because water loses. Night camp on the ridge above the valley, fire going, and I can look down at the canopy that hides an entire city underneath it, and nobody on Earth knows except us. Disappearing, and my body ache feels like the cleanest thing I have ever heard. The final morning in the ridge looks completely different in full daylight. The valley that felt so threatening in darkness is... This is the last frame before we start walking out, and I was a cut in this field and has been waiting here in absolute silence for centuries. Every step back to civilization will be easier than every step in because now we know the route exists, and that changes everything about what is possible. The Amazon contains an estimated 11,000 and it was